Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Black Army Radio, episode 11. I think this is 11. So, and I got to say this, I guess, beforehand every time. It's probably smart since we're actually like dedicating some time into this. Give us a like, give us a follow, rate us at 5 stars, send it to a friend. Yeah, do all those things. It'd be great if you think this information's worth sharing. Share it, please, and whatnot. And so today we're going to go over a few pretty interesting things. We're going to go over Trump's 20-minute address last night, which was just like more of the same. I was expecting something. I don't know. Honestly, man. Honestly. And then so we're going to go into that and then we're going to do some stuff there. And depending on time, we might spend the end of the podcast, just so you guys know out there. I'm a history guy. Like I'm getting my PhD in history. It's my thing, it's my jam. I love history. And there's a lot of weird happenings in the world right now. And so we may or may not get into kind of some ancient mythology and stuff with the flood myths, religion itself, UAP, which is like UFO stuff, and some other stuff, just for the hell of it, for the fun of it. And so, how we doing today, Joel? What's happening?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. No complaints here. Tried to get through Trump's whole speech, and I can't like listen to that guy talk for more than 5 minutes. But that was pretty hard and more of the same. Talks himself in circles. I don't know. And how he opened it up about how great our economy's doing and how we've just had the biggest spending bill we've ever had. We're not bringing in any money. We're laying people off at a record rate, but we're killing it. Uh, yeah.
Jobs
So we'll
report
get it.
zero.
Yeah. We'll get into that on last
You know,
last week's episode when I was talking about Charlie Kirk. I kept on saying fucking bolt instead of barrel, and I said it like 3 times in a row, and Ty didn't stop me.
I
Um,
didn't.
but and then I also misspoke when Epstein and Bannon got together, and that was 2021. So him and Bannon were trying to bring up, like, make Epstein look good to the public again. And that was in 2021, long after everyone knew what Epstein did. So it was like recent history, which makes it even worse, in my opinion.
Which is
But
why he would ask him if he thinks he's the devil, right?
yeah,
Which makes more
exactly.
sense than 20, like, I
Yeah.
think we said 2001.
Yeah, and that was just a misspoke, and I'll do that more times than not. My friends who know me, I'm sure if they're listening to that, they're like, "Oh, he's doing it. He'll do it." So, it's kind of funny listening to yourself, because I'll give a podcast a listen just to see if I didn't do any of that stuff, and
Oh, yeah,
I
we're our
know I'm
hardest
just
critiques, dude, for sure.
I know I'm dyslexic when I write because I could see it, but when I talk, I don't hear it. It's just me talking, so when I hear myself out loud, I'm like, "Oh, shit, man. How have I made it this far?"
You know what's
But,
funny? Because I used to be one of those dudes that used to eat Trump up, man. Like, I used to love listening to his fucking speeches and talk just 'cause he was such an animal.
right.
You know what I mean? It was like a stand-up comic, dude. I appreciated that. It wasn't like listening to a senator from Missouri
Yeah.
speak about the economy and the environment and war and
It was
healthcare, and it was just outrageous. And I
it
fucking love
was
that
a
about him.
total
That's what got
opposite.
people onto him, is because he wasn't a fucking politician, man. But what we're finding out now is, obviously, is he's just completely, absolutely, and totally full of shit. But back in those days, man, before I even really kind of knew it, and I was along for the ride, yeah, I used to love listening to him go on and on and on and on with like that. I really did,
Well, and I think
which is retarded.
there's someone attracted about being irreverent and saying things that, like, someone in that place isn't gonna say, and then you came from Obama, who was, like, this smooth talker, would pause at the right time, make a point like, one of the funniest videos I when we, they do them back and forth, and it's Obama talking about when he killed Osama bin Laden, and then it's Trump talking about when he killed, oh, it might have been Iranian's first, the guy who he smoked in his first term. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, was it Soleimani?
Yeah, it
Is that
might have
right?
been.
And
I
that could
think it
be
was
another thing that we're
Soleimani,
gonna
but
have to
he's
go back and unfuck. But I'm
yeah,
I'm not
go
positive.
yeah.
Something like that. I
But
think that's correct.
there's a side by side comparison, and it's to me it's just funny. I don't know if I like one more than the other, but just the bipolar or not the totally polar opposite of how they talked. And I think Trump was a direct reaction of Obama being president.
Oh
I
yeah.
think like,
He
it
was a
was like
direct
that
reaction to
pendulum.
a lot of things. He was a direct reaction to global war on terror, bro. That's why he
Yeah.
was so anti-war when he first came out. That's why he went up there to Jeb Bush and he's basically like, "Suck my dick, fuck your brother."
Well,
To, like
and
everybody
that
that was on the stage, because he was like the only guy up there that was saying the Iraq war was bullshit and all that
and
stuff was bullshit.
actually
We shouldn't be doing it. So the speech last night was 20 minutes. It was just 20 minutes. Like that is super short for that dude. Really, really short. He is a guy that like his State of the Union was what, like an hour and 45 minutes or
yeah.
something. Remember, it was like record breaking. All of his when he gets up there and it's like WWE, right? And he's up on a stage hollering. And I mean, it usually lasts for a while, but I mean, 20 minutes is pretty short for him. But I have compiled a list of bullet points. So for those of you, which is probably most of you, that didn't actually watch or listen to the speech, I have everything you need to know right here. And I'm going to go over these bullet points. It's fabulous. These bullet points are freaking fabulous. And so here we go. Trump's lights up America with a 20-minute winning speech. Iran has been a swift, decisive, and overwhelming victory. All Iran leaders are dead. Iran's Navy, Air Force, and military capabilities have been destroyed. These are all different bullet points. Like these are all just like little pieces of the speech coming out, like in order. Never before in history has anyone won a war so decisively fast. Venezuela enters the scene. We have all their oil. Okay. We're in the Middle East to help the Middle East. We don't need oil from the Strait of Hormuz. We have our own. We're only in the Middle East, again, to help the Middle East. Iran chants death to America. I feel like this is really big for the boomers because I don't give a fuck. That they're chanting death. It doesn't mean shit to me. Like people can think whatever the fuck they want. Like there's people down the street that would probably want to kick my ass. Like whatever. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean anything to
You
me.
would
It's
take
real
them.
big for people. It's definitely big for the boomers. Iran also chants death to Israel. Again, big for the boomers. Iran killed 45,000 of their own people in a little over a week of protesting. This is interesting because this would have been a little bit over a week. 45,000 people is a lot. That's almost like how many, that's like 30,000 less than died in Gaza in like
Yeah.
years and years. That'd be like Iran carpet bombing their protesters. I'm
Yeah.
not really like the verified numbers that you're really able to get from like the Associated Press and like human rights organizations and like independent verified monitors. They say around 7,000. That's not like a fucking great number, but it's not 45,000. Okay. He said
Yeah. Big
45,000 people killed.
difference.
Mm-hmm. We're winning big. If Iran gets nuclear weapons, there's no more Israel and there's no more Middle East. I'm currently correcting the mistakes of all of our previous presidents. We've obliterated Iran's ability to make nuclear weapons, but Iran is desperately trying to make nuclear weapons. Iran was in the process of making intercontinental ballistic missiles. Before our attack a month ago, Iran was right at the doorstep of making a nuclear weapon. And now we have an actual objective. Here's his objective as of last night. Is it regime change? Is it nuclear weapons? Is it intercontinental ballistic missiles? Is it the end of the state? What is it? Our objective, quote, to systematically dismantle Iran's ability to threaten America or project power outside of their borders, which basically means making them a failed state. We've destroyed all their nuclear weapons. We've destroyed everything. Everything's gone. Iran is crippled. No one has ever seen anything like this before, what we've done to Iran. Everyone is talking about how they've never seen anything like this before, what we've done to Iran. We must honor the fallen by completing our mission. Every single family member that I visited of the fallen, the 13 dead Americans, told me, "Sir, please finish the job." Sure.
That's
So we're going to finish the job. Gas prices are high because of Iran. Iran will use their nuclear weapons quickly. The US currently has the best economy in American history. The US was dead and crippled last year, but in 1 year, I've made us the hottest country in the world with the highest stock market ever. Quotes. No to a nuclear Iran. America has so much oil, more than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. The US is in great shape. We don't need the Strait of Hormuz to be open. Iran has been defeated. The countries of the world need to take care of the Strait of Hormuz to get their damn oil. Buy oil from us, or get some delayed courage and go open the Strait of Hormuz yourselves. Go to the Strait of Hormuz and just take it. Iran has been completely defeated. Taking the Strait of Hormuz would be easy. The stock market is historic. Americans are seeing the biggest tax cut ever. Our economy is excellent. We will complete our military objectives in Iran shortly. We're hitting Iran hard for the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bomb Iran into the Stone Age. Interesting side note caveat onto that one. The last time that terminology was used by a president or like elected officials about bombing somebody in the Stone Age, it came immediately before Operation Rolling Thunder, which we talked about, like 2 episodes ago, an episode ago in this podcast, which was a huge bombing campaign in Vietnam from 1965 to 1968, which was completely didn't do what they thought it was doing because they thought they were destroying everything, just like Trump talks about all the time. Everything's destroyed. The North Vietnamese can't do anything. Blah, blah. That led to the Tet Offensive. The Tet Offensive led to the withdrawal of American forces and the end of the war. Okay. That's the last time that term was used about bombing Iran to the Stone Age, which also Pete Hegseth is also using as well. Going on, all of Iran's leaders are dead. The new leaders that we're talking to are much better. Iran can't stop us. We're unstoppable. We have all the cards. They have no cards. Iran has been totally destroyed in 30 days. This is an investment into your grandkids' future. No one can believe how strong we are. Everybody is talking about it. That's 20 minutes, dude. That's basically the funny thing about that is I mean, like, all I would have to do is expand on each one of those talking points just a little bit to make that 20-minute speech.
right.
It
And
was like a
I
boomer
mean,
paradise speech, bro. It really, really was. Like when I listened to it, he wasn't talking about like, where there's people today that are like economically suffering a little bit. You know what I mean? That may not be in
yeah.
their 70s and 80s right now. It's kind of like the younger generation's pretty pissed off about like the lack of opportunity, like the total lack of opportunity there. You can make $70,000 or $80,000 a year in a state that's not that expensive, and you're not going to be able to buy a house for less than $800,000 at like
Well, in the
7% fucking interest, right?
and
He's
the
not
fact of
talking to
the
those people, bro. He's not talking to those people. He was talking to the boomers last night. He brought up grandkids like more than a couple times. Grandkids more than a couple times. This is for your grandkids and stuff. And it's like, the fuck's talking about grandkids? Like, this is us trying to like live a life right now. Grandkids? Like, you're killing Iran for our grandkids? Anyway, yeah, go ahead, Joel.
well, and if you're like the tax break, like for me personally in my bracket, like it's like a $400-$500 difference, dude. And I made about $4,000 more than I made last year. And it's like it's the best tax break for a group of people, and it's a little tax break for the little guy, but not for the people who have the money to fucking pay it.
Hey, homie, you're
And
going to make that up difference in gas this weekend.
yeah, well, yeah, well,
This weekend,
dude,
what you pay to fill
it,
up your truck is going to eliminate your tax break, buddy.
it's just fucking I don't know what world he lives in, you know? And too, like, all this stuff he's talking about, like the stock market, Bitcoin, where all this money's tied up into, isn't happening it's not helping the guy who's making $70,000 a year. Like, there's some fucking tech kid in the city here in Denver, I guaranteed, who's like 22 and has all his money in Bitcoin, and I should probably talk to him because I'd probably be better fucking off, but, like, I hate the idea of all that fucking shit. Like, I don't want a digital currency. I don't wanna have all my money in the stock market. Like, there is no like, the idea of starting a company, unless you're a tech
The
company,
stock market
it
thing drives me crazy, bro. The stock market thing drives me
yeah,
crazy. They used to say that in the Biden administration. Remember, because all the
yeah,
conservatives were like, "Oh, the stock market doesn't matter because everybody's suffering economically." And it's like, how many people are really invested in the stock market? It's like that's not a good representation of the middle class, and it's fucking not, dude. Most people aren't like in there making big bets and trades all the time with the stock market. When people are going day to day,
and
you're investing in a retirement. You have your daily bills. You're hoping that you can retire and own your property and get a little bit of monthly money every month, like to support your shit. And it's like that's the stock. It's amazing to me how fast people change, like because of the team orientation of who you fucking decide you're gonna back, right? And it's
well,
like Trump, all
and the
these guys, all these people that voted for Trump, including me, during the Biden administration were like, the stock market doesn't mean dick. Like, take a look at the gas. What's the interest rate to buy a home? 7%. Gas is like $4 a gallon, $3.50 a gallon. You know what I mean? It's like every cash buyers, nobody can get a home anymore because cash buyers are buying up everything, which is basically the
right,
boomers. And you're like, dude, and now all of a sudden, the Dow's at 50,000,
right, yeah,
50,000, the Dow's
fucking
at
lame.
50,000. Remember that shit?
Yeah,
Talking about
and
Epstein,
it's
talking about internationally sponsored
yeah,
child rape. And it's like, the Dow's at 50,000. The fuck are you guys complaining about? Screw those
well,
kids.
and I don't know if people remember in 2008 before the fucking crash happened, like, that thing was climbing and climbing and climbing, and if you look at from 2004 to 2008 and what the stock market's doing right now, like, we're set up for, like, bad shit to fucking happen, and there's
Oh,
so
dude,
many similarities, and people,
dude,
"Yo, the stock market's
dude,
doing
it's so
good, it
bad.
was doing great," and then that bubble pops, and then we get fucked, man.
Let's talk about what happened right after Trumpy's speech because like this speech, dude, I thought we were gonna get something out of it. I was like, honestly, to tell you the truth, I remember messaging you this before. I was like, I'm feeling 50-50 that he's gonna pull us out of the war. I really am. I think he might be pulling us out of the war in this speech. I think he might call it. And it's like, dude, dude, the guy's on TV all the fucking time. He's on TV every day for like 2 hours a day, every single goddamn day, all the time. The guy can't get enough of the screen. And it's like, dude, he didn't say anything last night that was different than anything that he has been saying this entire time, like at all. He really didn't. Like, the war's over. It's not over. Iran's defeated, but they're not defeated. Like, other than the fact that he's telling all these other countries now that they need to open the Strait of Hormuz because he's not dealing with it because he knows how, like, this, that's wildly dangerous.
Yeah.
Wildly dangerous. It's a choke point. Google this shit, people. Check it out on Google Earth. It's a choke point. It's 25 miles across. Like, you're not, you could send in a fucking AT-4 round, like, or a Carl Gustav. You know what I'm saying? Like, anti-tank round halfway across that motherfucker to hit something. I mean, it's like, dude, it's crazy. And then so
Well,
right after oil, like, so I think the market was kind of waiting to see how he was going to do. And the market wants him to say the war's over, right? Because every time he says that, like on a Friday, the stock market gets a little boost through the weekend and everybody makes their trades, right? Everybody makes their bets. Everybody's making their trades. Like Hegseth and all these people are making their fucking money. Everybody's doing their insider trading, making a shit ton of money off this shit every single time he does it. Well, after this speech, it definitely had the opposite effect. I mean, so US crude surged over 11% just last night. 11% to settle at $111 a barrel. $111 a barrel for oil. Okay. And then Brent crude, which I guess is like more of the international market, went up to 109. Okay. And this was all driven up by because of fears intensified by the conflict. Because in the speech, Trump basically said the same thing he's been saying, that like we need another 2 or 3 weeks. We need to hit him for another 2 or 3 weeks. And now we got the fucking Rangers in there. We got the SEALs there. We've got the Marines there because they've remember we talked about the float, how long it takes in a float for these
Right.
motherfuckers to show up. We got the 82nd there. It's like, dude, we got a shit ton of dudes. We got around 50,000 dudes there now. They're all staging, like gearing up, doing the shit that they're doing. And it's like now I'm almost well, I was 50-50 about a ground invasion before. Like we would go over it because with the troops and like the idea of it and stuff. But dude, I'm like my money is maybe on a ground invasion this weekend, dude. Like
Right.
Easter weekend. It's fucking Easter on Sunday. Like we could be losing American fucking soldiers Easter Day in combat.
It's just I don't know, man. The narrative that's coming out of the White House saying the war is over and we decimated all their resources and all their war stuff. Like, why don't you think other countries want to take over the Strait or Hormuz? Because they know their $20 billion naval ship's going to get a fucking missile or a drone strike. You know, like if
Dude,
they were
just pay the
decimated,
pay the $2 million fee.
why did fucking Dubai get is like if they're decimated, why are bombs still hitting places? You know, like there's if they're not hitting Israel, they're hitting one of their neighbors, you know, and it's consistent. And that's
Mhm.
and the reporting on the deaths too. Like he was saying that every he's talked to every parent in the war and they want us to finish a job. That's not true. I know there's one family who's already like spoken out about like their kid coming home in a casket with
Oh
a
yeah, they said
flag
that
on
we
it.
never said that. They said we never
Yep.
said that. Never said that shit.
And
And that was Hegseth, I
and
think. That was before
yeah,
Trump. That was Hegseth. Who's
yeah,
because Hegseth was the first guy that said that I talked to the families of the fallen and they told me to finish the job. They said, "Sir,
yeah.
please finish the job." And there was at least one father that came out that was like, that conversation never fucking happened.
Well, and just what happened with the stock market, you know, the world doesn't believe his shit anymore.
He's been
They
able to
don't
manipulate it for a month.
yeah, they
Pretty
don't
like
trust him.
not anymore. It's going to be harder and harder and harder to do that. And speaking of our allies, right? So he's up there and he's like, "Hey, you guys want oil? Go open the Strait of Hormuz." Can you imagine how pissed off you would be if you were like, "Oh, some of these countries that are really gonna," I mean, some of these countries are gonna start shutting down airports. Like for
Yeah.
those, like
Remember
the way the United States is able to handle this versus like pretty much everybody else. And we need to enjoy this while it lasts because, like I said, this is we're not a unipolar state anymore. We're not the sole superpower anymore. I think we're going to see a massive change in superpower status. I think Russia, Iran, and China are gonna massively benefit from what's going on right
well,
now, just
and
because of the energy economy that's being taken advantage of with
th
Iran right now.
there's a map that Project 2025 made out, and it was talking about taking the power hemispherically and removing ourselves from all of Europe. So that's why we're invading Venezuela. There's stuff going on in Argentina right now that people aren't that aware of, you know, the Greenland thing. And that was a big project of 2025. And that's also a big project of why I think they're intentionally um killing the American dollar because they want the American dollar to get so bad that they force a digital currency on the people. And then with that digital currency, and this is like the wormhole of what could happen with that digital currency, with all the data that they collected on us, like they could have the power to turn off our money. And
Oh
then
yeah, they did that
going
in
into
Canada
like
during COVID. Remember?
yeah, well, and then going into like the AI and all the removal of jobs that's going to happen with AI and stuff like that, where we'd essentially have an allowance from the fucking government and they would be able to turn it on or off, you know, and
They'd be like,
that's like,
"You got something bad to say about Israel? What'd you say about
yeah,
Israel?
yeah.
Israel?
And that's, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
what I'm talking
you
about when
enjoy having
I'm
your
saying
money?
that,
Delete, delete."
yeah, and that's what I'm talking when I'm saying like the digital authoritarian like state And when you look into some of the stuff what's going on, it seems like it's fucking intentional. You know, they talk about it in Project 2025 and they say, "Oh, that's totally made up." And then you look at Project 2025 and what's happened over this last year. They talked about having ICE in the airports. They talked about having ICE at voting booths. They talked about the SAVE Act. They talked about all this stuff, you know?
Dude, they
And
have
that's
ICE at the Marine Corps graduation at Camp
yeah.
Pendleton for boot camp.
Checking IDs of people going to watch their
That
fucking
shit
kids graduate into the Marine Corps. That's so fucked up,
that
man.
shit pissed me off so much when I saw that, dude, that you're gonna have ICE at the graduation of their boot camp to fucking gather up these dudes' relatives or parents or whatever that are coming to watch them graduate from Marine Corps fucking infantry basic, or I guess it's boot camp for the Marines. I mean, dude, that I don't know how you can defend that shit at all. That's fucking terrible, man. Like these guys are about ready more than likely if they're graduating Marine Corps boot camp and the fact that we're obviously not exiting this war right now, like these homeboys could be heading off to fucking battle.
Yeah.
And you're gonna hook up their fucking mom or dad or like aunt or uncle like at the graduation. I mean, you can't think of something a better way to handle that shit. It's it's fucking terrible. So anyway, countries. So Trumpy was all like last night in the speech, was basically just telling everybody, you want oil? Go open the Strait of Hormuz. Go open it. It's easy. Iran is defeated. They don't have a military anymore. It'd be really, really easy to open up the Strait of Hormuz. It's hilarious how he can say that shit and think
Right.
because everybody is like, what? Okay. Countries that have closed their airspace, just their airspace to the United States. Spain, Italy, Switzerland, and Austria. Spain, Italy, Switzerland, and Austria have completely closed off their airspace to the United States. Countries rejecting military involvement, totally rejecting military involvement. The United Kingdom, Germany, France, Japan, Australia, Spain, Italy, Canada, Greece, Poland, Norway, the Netherlands, Sweden, Ireland, 14 countries. How many of those countries are NATO countries? NATO countries, North Atlantic Treaty Organization countries. NATO took place the League of Nations after World War One will end World War II. The United Kingdom, Germany, France, Italy, Canada, Spain, Greece, Poland, Norway, Netherlands, Sweden, 11 NATO countries are completely closing their doors to us. Completely. Dude.
Well, and a part of that's because Trump and tariff shit, you know? Like he went and fucked with all these countries and they're like, "All right, you want to play hardball? Like go finish this war you know you could finish. You don't need our help."
These
And just
countries fought
brag
with
about,
us in Iraq and Afghanistan.
yeah,
And
for
they
sure.
knew, like, unlike our fucking population, apparently, they're like, that entire situation was bullshit. Like, that's bullshit. We're not doing that shit again. But apparently, we're too fucking stupid here in the United States to see the forest through the trees with that. We're too goddamn dumb. And we're going to be making fun of all these other countries. I guarantee there's a whole bunch of fucking Joes out there that are like, fuck Canada, fuck the UK, fuck France, American fries, Japan, Australia, Spain, Italy, blah, 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 fuck all those people.
Right.
All those guys, all those countries put boot to ass with us for 20 years. They lost dudes. And like the UK, especially, Australia as well. Australia lost a lot of guys. I mean, they basically took over Afghanistan when we decided we wanted to launch into Iraq. The United States just basically like made Afghanistan the forgotten war in 2003 when we went into Iraq, and we pretty much turned Afghanistan over to like the fucking UK and the Australians, and they were
Right.
they were losing guys like crazy over there compared to us. And it's mesmerizing to me that we could talk shit about these countries that spent 20 years fighting a war for us, and they weren't fucking attacked at all. And they're looking at us now, and they're like, "Why are you guys doing this?
Yeah.
This seems like a bad. This seems like a look. Take a look at the global economy. You got fucking. There's going to be airports now. They're going to be shutting down for days at a time because they can't refuel jets. I want to say like jet fuel is around like $200 a barrel right now, or something
Right.
internationally. And you got countries like in India, you got all these other countries now that are literally saying they're gonna have to start shutting down their airports because they're not gonna be able to refuel jets. They're not gonna be able to refuel jets internationally. So, like, you're flying into fucking India on your way to St. Petersburg or fucking whatever. They're gonna be like, "No, airport's closed for 3 days this week. Sorry, we can't refuel any jets. We can't afford it." And
Well,
it's all because
and
of this shit happening down there, and Trump's like, "It's fucking easy to open it up. Just go fucking open it up. What's the problem? What's the deal? Just go fucking open it. It's not our fault. We didn't fucking do this. Iran did it. This is Iran's fault. This isn't our fault. We didn't do this shit. This is Iran's fucking decision."
we're putting ourselves out on an island, man. And I know everything that went on with NATO and the amount of money we give to them and everything else. I think there could be a happy medium with some of that relationship. But
I'll tell you what,
as far
if
as
Trump
what we're
would have just
doing
got
right
out of NATO
now,
in that speech, that would have made a lot of people happy too. But he didn't even
yeah.
fucking do that.
Well, and I also think like just reconstructing NATO and also looking at like the amount of money. Okay, Israel's not even a part of NATO. They're like a silent partner, kind of like they're there. NATO votes
Kinda
whether
like
they
their
like them or
silent nuclear
not.
weapons.
Yeah, yeah, and the most of this shit that's gone on that we've been involved with and why we're giving all this money to NATO is because of fucking Israel. And that's what like it's like the I mean, there's no other that's what's going on. And we can people who are Zionists will say it's for the greater cause and the Muslims are just trying to blow us up and blah 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 blah. But that's almost all the money every we're fucking $30 trillion in debt. We were $5 trillion in debt before GWAT. We are 30 trillion since we got our fucking hands in the Middle East.
Is it 30
We
or is it
just
40?
it's probably 40. I was aiming low. So yeah, it
It literally, like,
it's
from, like, the founding of America until, like, 2001, we were less than $5 trillion in debt. And then, like, the
and
last 20 years with GWAT, and then a few years after GWAT, we've shot up to
it's
do check that really quick. I wanna say it might be 30, but I wanna say it might be 40 too, as well. Joel's doing a check right now. I want everybody to know too, even though that we're both wearing all black right now, it wasn't planned, just like our elk teeth weren't planned. Supporting everybody out there knows that. There is no coordination with uniforms on this podcast, and yet, here we are, Joel. Disgusts me.
thir- as of today, we are 39 trillion
So it's close to
dollars
40.
in debt. Yeah,
Yep.
39 trillion, man.
Hey, man, at no time in history has that ever been a problem. It's never been a
I
fucking
think this
problem.
I
We can
think
just
this would
pretend. We
be
can just pretend like that's not gonna be a problem, right? Because it's never been a problem before. We can just live in the land of fucking make believe. We'd be like, "Sure."
and then just and go look at our military spending over the last or 20 years, and you could see where at least 80% of that debt came from. If we were just stacking 2-3 trillion dollars of debt, that's what like we would be entitled to because we're America and people want to buy our debt from us because we have a good reputation. Now we're stacking like I don't even and I think this is a good time to bring up that video with Trump
Video.
and Rubio. Trump's
We got a
talking
lot
so
of stuff to Yep, we got a lot of stuff to go off this video. This is a good one.
these
I like this
videos
one.
are taken 2 days apart. One was from Trump's speech from last night, and the other one was, Rubio talking the day before, and, this was, like, the thing that probably upset me the most about his whole speech, where I was like, "Oh, dude, I I don't get it."
It's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. They can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing: military protection. And at the end of the day, I think that if there are people in Iran who now, given everything that's happened, are willing to move in a different direction for their country, that would be great. Imagine in Iran that instead of spending their wealth, billions of dollars supporting terrorists or weapons, had spent that money helping the people of Iran, you'd have a much different country. So we are always hopeful that that would exist over there.
So the funny thing about that is like that Trump video. First of all, it's a little longer than that. and like the actual Trump, just not to part with Pete Hegseth, but Rubio, because Pete Hegseth said the same kind of thing, right? Where it's like if Iran didn't spend so much fucking money on the military, they could goddamn do something for their people. And then Marco Rubio echoed that, and now Trump talked about it. And Trump was basically saying it's like a 10th Amendment issue, right? The 10th Amendment is a federalism thing. It basically says anything not written in the Constitution or Bill of Rights is pretty much left up to the states. And so when he's talking about like child care, medical care, there's like some just basic, gas prices, different things like that in that clip. he's basically saying that the federal government's not fucking responsible for that shit. The federal government is not responsible for your child care. Like if you want child care, because both parents have to work now. It's not like the 80s, not like even the 90s where you could have a stay-at-home parent and you have one person out there working 40 to 50 hours a week and the other person's raising the kids. You can't fucking do that shit anymore. You can't even do that shit anymore in goddamn like Kentucky. Okay. Forget about Colorado, California, fucking Illinois, New York, goddamn Massachusetts, Washington State, all these other places that are just wildly crazy expensive. Even the deep red states, two people are working, generally speaking. And what he's basically saying is that we're a war economy, which is something I've said over and over again. He's like, we're not responsible for that shit. Leave that to the states. The states need to figure that shit out. Our job is fucking to war. Our job is to prepare for war and to fucking fight war. And, it's an interesting thing to me because I pulled out some stats with that because they talk a lot of shit about Iran and how much money Iran spends, like, right? Because Iran's spending all this money producing weapon systems when they should be spending it on their people. Okay. The United States spends more on its military than any other country, and it's not even close. The expenditures exceed the combined budgets of the next several highest nations. Not the combined budgets for their military, but their combined budgets entirely. Entirely. As of 2024, the U.S. defense spending was basically $1 trillion in 2024. So that was a few years ago. But a few years ago, that accounted for 40% of the entire world's defense spending. 40% of the entire goddamn world's defense spending just in the fucking United States. Okay. And that was in 2024. Joel, what do you think Iran's military budget was in 2024? Just their military budget. In 2024 or 2025. It's actually 24 and 25.
I would like ballpark it in the low billions.
It was $10 billion. $10 billion. It was $10.3 billion, but $10 billion. The United States in 2024 spent $1 trillion. $1 trillion on our military budget. And now, you know how much they're requesting for 2027 for next year? Do you know how much they're requesting? How much they're going up?
What, like 1.5?
It's 1.5, bro. They're literally going up another 5 trillion, like 0.5 trillion fucking dollars. So another I guess that would be 500 billion, right? That's how it makes it. When you get in these numbers, your brain's like, oh. So really that would be another 500 billion on top of the 2024. So the United States, with this, big, beautiful bill and all this bullshit that they're talking about, is requesting a $1.5 trillion military budget for 2027. While they're shitting up there while Trump, Rubio, Hegseth is talking to an ignorant American public, because let's be honest, dude, let's be honest. Most of the American public is pretty goddamn ignorant about this shit. They don't fucking keep up on it. They don't keep up on what we're really doing. You're like, why did it cost me $100 to fill up my fucking car today? And that's kind of like the extent of how far they investigate this stuff. But $10 billion versus $1.5 trillion? $10 billion is a drop in the bucket, dude. It's not even a drop in the fucking bucket. Like, it's nothing, dude. It's nothing compared to what we spend on our fucking military. Zero.
We're spending $100 billion a day to be there. On top of all that,
Is it $1 billion a day or $100 billion? I think it's $1 billion.
Or $1 billion, yes, not 100.
Yeah, it's $1 billion a day, but we're up to like $37 billion right now, just in the last month. It's actually a little bit more than $1 billion a day if you do it all together. But it's like we're up to like 30. I want to say last night, the clock, like the $37 billion clock went past midnight, and we're on our way to like 38 tomorrow. So we'll be at $38 billion tomorrow by midnight for sure. But dude, it's just amazing to me that they can say that shit out loud, like in front of people, in front of reporters. And even the reporters are like, sir, or not. I should say they're not like, sir, Iran spent $10 billion on their entire military budget in 24. $10 billion, and we spent $1 trillion on it, sir. And that country has almost 100 million people. It's a third the size of the United States, which would theoretically mean even if they tripled it, it would still only be $30 billion.
Yeah. Like,
you know what I mean? Like it's still nothing compared to what we spend on fucking weapon systems and in international armaments. Crazy,
well,
man.
and the whole thing is like I agree with like some small government, but I also to say like the money's not why the fuck am I paying taxes? I'm not paying taxes for us to drop bombs on fucking schools. So you're telling me the only thing my taxes are gonna pay for right now at this point, and I'm fine with this because they should, is like VA stuff and fucking federal highways. Like, come on, dude. Like, the money is, and I know taxes go to a bunch more shit than that. And we do a bunch of dumb shit with taxes. I'm not saying I love the system of where the money goes to different programs and whatnot, but to say like we don't have money for that stuff, we're the richest country in the fucking world, dude. And we don't have money to like that the $37 billion we had, I bet that would fund every school to have free school lunches for kids for fucking 7 years.
100%.
Like,
Especially
and
school lunches. School lunches for sure. School lunches for sure. That's definitely.
and yeah,
Yep.
and that's why I went with like a something low on the totem pole, but like the money's there to do good shit for the American people. And if like Um, yeah, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think there's definitely a line with big government, but I also think some socialized programs when it comes to making sure our elderly and like you could get your kid into a hospital without bankrupting your family, like those are things I think we should be able to take care of. Taking care of the elderly, making sure they have a place when they're dying and a safe place that's not ran by somebody who's trying to take advantage of them, what has regulations. There's some things that we should regulate and there's some things that we need to keep our hands out of,
Yep.
you know?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm a big fan of reconsolidation, and I said this on our last podcast. It's not that I'm anti fucking war. Like you want to play fuck games, we'll play fuck games. If you're like like if you're directly threatening the United States and the civilian population, we'll play fuck games all day, and you'll find
Yeah.
out who we are real quick. But like all like having 300 international bases and an unknown number of black sites, CIA black sites, they're all costing us billions of dollars. Like, I want to reconsolidate everything back in the United States, right? That's what I talk about. And you're like, do you want to play fucking games? We're going to have a highly funded military, a high technical military, a very well trained military with the best fucking weapon systems and equipment that money can buy. But it's going to be here. It's going to be goddamn fucking here. And it's like, if you
Right.
want to play fucking games, you'll find out who we are real quick. But this going out and doing shit for Israel and everything else for fucking like literally every single goddamn country that fought with us for the last 20 years is telling us to piss off. They're not giving us their airspace. They're not giving us their soldiers. They're not coming, even though they're getting raped by this economically way worse than us because we do have like our own energy production. But if you live in Asia or Europe or these other places, dude, it's gonna get real bad for those people, like real bad. And to think that they're like it's gonna get so bad, and they're still not willing to enter into another scenario that's like an Iraq 2 but worse scenario tells you a lot. Tells you a lot.
Well,
They're like,
and
no, we'll pay $200 a gallon for oil or a barrel for oil. We'll do $200 a barrel rather than sending our fucking sons and daughters into a meat grinder of into Iran. You know what I mean? And here's another thing. So when Iran and Iraq fought from 1980 to 1988, Iran doesn't listen. When Iran goes into total war, we need to know this because we need to know what we're up against. We need to know what our people are up against. Iran was in total war with Iraq from like basically 1980 to 1988. What a lot of people don't realize is we backed Iraq. We gave Iraq a shit ton of weapon systems, training, people, all kinds of other stuff to fight the Iranian regime. And they were able to fight them for like 8 years. But the Iranians, like the casualty rate for like the total Iranian population in those 8 years was like 200 to 600,000 people. It's a lot of people. I mean, there's a huge variation there between like 200 and 600,000. But even if you take the low number, it tells you that they will absolutely fucking fight. Like they will fight. There's no way they're not going to fight. They're already telling us to fight. They're antagonizing us to fight. They're putting out fucking Lego videos asking us to fight, basically like showing like Lego figures of characters, like showing soldiers and fucking American flagged coffins, right? And they're loading them onto Lego C-17s, being like, "Come fucking dance, come on over, let's fucking dance." I mean, they will 100% sacrifice their fucking population. And they did it before. They've done it. We lost 400,000 people in World War II, 400,000, which is kind of like right in the middle of this. And it's like, it was kind of an existential threat, you know, because we've been attacked by Japan and the Nazis. And it was like, we saw it as an existential threat for sure. And the homeland had been attacked. That's how Iran sees this right now. It's not an existential threat for us. It is for Israel a little bit right now, but not for fucking America. And it's like for the Iranians, it is 110% to think that they wouldn't be willing to lose 600,000 fucking people, including civilians, in this fight. You're out of your mind. Like they're 100% willing to do that.
Well, and Israel, from like reports from their side, not from their side, but from media, like outlets around the world, they're taking big hits. They don't have the soldiers to keep this up. You know, like there's a reason why, like, if they do boots on the ground, they're not gonna do it because they're taking fucking hits. And then it's also being reported since October 2023 that there's been more than like 750 American soldiers that have died in this conflict between Iran and Israel to date, you know, which that's not a number. It's hard to like find out how many American soldiers have actually died, but that's something that's not being reported as well. That, I mean,
I think they're classifying the numbers, bro. I really do. And I brought this up kind of early, and like we've said before, we haven't been wrong, dude. Like with the stuff that we've been talking about since the beginning of this, like we really haven't. When we talk about Israel getting decimated, when we talked about our military bases getting destroyed, we talked about U.S. personnel being in hotels. When we talked about Israel just getting fucking pummeled, right? Israel's getting really hammered. Like we weren't wrong about any of that stuff. I mean, we were like pretty much spot on with about all those things. And I was kind of curious myself, even when we were reporting it, because I was like, man, it seems sketchy. It seems like a lot. Like, why wouldn't we report on that? But I have a really hard time thinking we only lost 13 people.
Yeah.
I think we've lost more people. I think they're not telling us. And here's the thing too. If we do a ground invasion, whether it's this weekend or in a week or 2 weeks or something like that, that's how you hide those numbers. You hide those numbers through a ground invasion. If we've lost, let's say the number's not 13. Let's say the number's, I mean, Iran just put out a thing. Remember, I said this to you yesterday.
Yeah.
Iran put out like a news report in Iranian media saying that they had killed like 37 American soldiers. Like, I think it was 37.
Yep.
And that fucking headline like left the internet pretty quick. You know what I'm saying? Like it became harder and harder to find. Like you could find it all of a sudden and then it would just like disappeared. It kind of like became a hard thing to fucking find all of a sudden. But when I found it, it was kind of like everywhere and then it just kind of disappeared. I wouldn't be the least bit. I don't trust. Why the fuck would I trust this? Why would I trust anything coming out of the United States at this point? Why would I trust anything? I know they're fucking lying about everything. I fucking know it for a fact that they are. So why wouldn't they lie about the casualties? Because
And a
that's what
bunch
really is
of
going to piss everybody off. If we've lost 100 dudes or 30 dudes, like 37, they said they've killed 37 Americans in one fucking strike, which wouldn't
well,
be
and a
like in a base. That wouldn't be hard to believe.
our media is ran by a bunch of fucking elite Christian Zionists, you know? Like, that's what our media is being ran by. Like, the narrative doesn't benefit them to say what's really happening, you know? And I also know some of the stuff that's coming directly from Iran is propaganda. Like, but you have to read somewhere in
Oh yeah,
between
for
those
sure.
lines, just like the American government saying they killed 40,000 civilians. That's a big difference between 70,000 civilians, you know, and I'm sure there's
7,000.
somewhere in between or
Yeah,
yes,
7,000.
that too.
7,000 is the
Thanks, Ty.
accepted number. Dude, 45,000 in like a week and a half.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like they weren't even doing that in the Holocaust. I mean, that's what makes me have a hard when I hear Trump or like Ben Shapiro or fucking Mark Levin or any of these other pukes say that the Iranians killed, and this isn't a defense of the Iranian regime. This is a question of the numbers because that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
I mean, in Gaza when they were getting carpet bombed like fucking Dresden, they lost 70,000 people in like 3 years.
Yeah. It was
And
a
and
long.
it looked like World War II in that motherfucker. And to be like Iran killed 45,000 of their own people in a week.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot of killing, man. I mean, that is some systematic industrial killing, like on
Yeah.
a completely different level than what pretty much anybody's capable of doing outside of like a
And
nuclear weapon.
and there would be some satellite image of fucking bodies stacked up. Like you need a mass grave for that type of stuff, you know?
But
Or there
even
would be a,
yeah, even
you
a
know,
mass
like
grave, dude. Like I've seen mass graves,
you need something.
couple
Like
hundred
I don't know.
people. You know, it's fucking terrible. But it's like you get a
Yeah,
couple hundred people in those mass graves that are dug out with like a loader or something. I mean,
that's a football
45,000
stadium
people is
full
a
of
lot of
people.
fucking
That's
people,
a
man.
that's a
It's a
lot of
lot more
fucking
people than
people.
people just like you just hear that number and you're like sitting there watching ESPN Sports Center and like, yeah, 45,000 people sounds fucking about right in a week.
Yep,
You're like, no,
yep,
I don't know about that, man. Like, take a look at take a look at other situations in history where that many people have died and like what it's taken.
right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's taken a lot. Like, you look at Rwanda. It took like months for a few 100,000 of them to get killed, and they were doing a hell of a lot of killing. Same thing in Bosnia,
Right.
like with the Kosovo thing with the fucking Bosnians and the Serbians.
Yeah.
It's a lot of killing. It still wasn't like that systematic that fast. You know, I mean, I don't know, dude. What'd you think about? Remember we talked about how fucking um, Trump talked about how he couldn't say who he was talking to, and he couldn't say who he was, and he couldn't say where he lived because he didn't want him to die. Remember that?
Yep, I do.
Well, Israel, shocker, just tried to smoke. I guess his name is Kamal Khazari. Kamal Khazari. They actually killed his wife. His wife's dead. He's seriously wounded, and he was Iran's pretty much chief negotiator, and he was negotiating with the United States. So when Trump's talking about negotiating with somebody, this might have been the guy that he was negotiating with or willing or able to talk to. But it was also through the state of Pakistan. It wasn't a direct line. And I think they were trying to confuse the systems a little bit on purpose to maybe keep this guy from getting killed. But it didn't fucking
Right.
matter because Israel, just like Iran, remember when Trump was like 5 days, no attacking your power plants and water plants and all this other shit.
Right.
And we're going to go to 10 days. The first thing Israel does is attack all those plants. The first thing they do.
Well, and if you think we held the power here
No,
and
we don't
we
have the
really
power.
didn't want, well, if you think we did, just from a theoretical standpoint, and you think we wouldn't want a prolonged war where we have to waste all this money, all these ties, we would tell Israel, hey, we're trying to negotiate. Quit dropping bombs, fucking keep the dog on the leash, keep him in control. And to me, this is also like why I go back to like there's something bigger here. Why are we letting this tiny little country dictate all the shit. Like, they have a bunch of blackmail on our politicians about fucking 13-year-olds. And there's a good file in the Epstein files, and maybe like we should post some of these documents so like people know we're not full of shit, where you could actually go to the government's website and find the list of numbers what says it's this document, and it's from a FBI informant who and this is written out, like this isn't an interview, this is a document what this informant filled out, and it was his conclusion as that Epstein was a Mossad agent, and he was with him for, I think it was like 4 or 5 years, like tied into like working undercover with him, and it was saying that he's like, he works for the Mossad. Like, this is way more than what
At the
we
very
thought it
least, he
was.
was an asset. At the very
Yeah.
least, he was an asset. Even if he wasn't like a fucking paid for play,
Yeah.
like your name's on the fucking roster, like Mossad agent.
Right.
It's kind of like Janine Maxwell's dad, right? Who had a lot to do with
Yeah.
Israel getting nuclear weapons, stealing a whole bunch of nuclear technology from the United States. Like there's a deep connection there for sure. And obviously Epstein was married to Janine Maxwell, right? And she was really big on his on all the stuff that he was doing. And a lot of the context I think he made came from her dad, who
Yeah,
was really,
100%.
really prominent in the Israeli state and especially within the intelligence community. And so, yeah, when you have Trump, who's basically like completely underwater, completely and totally and absolutely underwater, giving a speech basically whenever I was actually thinking, dude, I was personally
It's
thinking
not
I was like,
possible for us.
if I would have had to have put money on it, I would have thought we were pulling out of the war last night. I would have been like, I bet you if I would have had to actually put money on it, $10, right? Been like, you're gonna put money on us staying in the war or pulling out? I would have actually put it on us pulling it out, because I was like, why is he giving a speech? He
Right.
gave a speech. He didn't say fucking anything different at all compared to everything he's been saying. He didn't say, other than the fact that he was just calling out all the NATO countries that weren't helping with the Strait of Bermuda. I mean,
Right.
that's it. You know?
And he's having a prayer morning. That was the biggest clap, was him announcing that he's having a Christian prayer morning or something. And one for our listeners, like, if you're a Christian, I have no problem with you. Like, believe in whoever you want, but like, just know a little history, like, about America. The one nation under God, he says that in his speech. One nation under God wasn't in our Pledge of Allegiance until the 50s. And God We Trust wasn't in our money until the 50s. You know, like, we, the men who wrote our
Yeah.
Constitution had their flaws, but they were really intentional about dividing church and state,
Oh yeah,
you know?
dude. The
And
separation of church and state was absolutely huge in the founding. I mean, like really big. I mean, it was more deistic than anything else, which
yeah,
is basically the belief in a non-interventionist God, but the belief in a God just the same. I mean, James Madison, he drafted the First Amendment to ensure that Congress would make no law respecting the establishment of religion. It was really important to him. Um, in that, and just like a James Madison quote that is really good. This is the guy who basically drafted the First Amendment, and he's got a quote here. It was in 1778. It's a fantastic quote, and it said, "If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controllers on government would be necessary. In framing a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this: you must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself." The checks and balances within the United States government, especially when it comes to religion, are absolutely, completely, and totally unquestionable. I mean, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, um, Thomas Paine, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin. There is so much writing where they make a very clear and distinct separation of church and state, and about how the church cannot rule the state, or else it will absolutely subjugate the people. I mean, it's over and over and over and over again in all of their writings and in all in history of the checks and balances and how important those checks and balances were within the American framework.
Well, and I do get that a lot of our founding fathers had some Judeo-Christian beliefs, and I'm not denying the fact that some of their thoughts came from that system, but they were also running from religion that was going on, in Europe, you
Well, in
know?
that time,
And
the
they
Catholics and the Protestants were killing the fuck out of each
yeah.
other,
And
big time.
they saw how it divided people, and they saw, like, yeah, it's important for us to have our beliefs, but, like, we need to keep this at our home, and we need to not let this separate the people or the government because it will, and it has historically, and it's like we don't learn from history. It's just a cyclical fucking circle that we're too ignorant to fucking see the forest through the trees, and just we do it again and again and again and again and again
Okay,
and
even in like
again and
1802,
again.
Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter to a Baptist association saying, "A wall of separation between church and state is wildly necessary in a free republic." Thomas Jefferson, 1802. Um, a nation founded on a particular religion, but on a reason derived natural rights with freedom of religion guaranteed to all. Like reason, this country was really founded on reason, is what it
Yeah.
was. It was like it wasn't founded on Christianity at all. It was founded on reason. Reason at that time was the paramount context of the Enlightenment era, big time. Was reason. I mean, John Locke, Montesquieu, Rousseau, Francis Bacon, Isaac Newton, Voltaire, like all of these guys were all based on science and reason. And the founding fathers took all of the writings from those guys from the Enlightenment to produce the American Republic. And it's like, if you really want to, if you actually give a shit about what real history is, you'll find out really, really quick that the United States of America was founded on reason. If you want to say it was founded on anything, it was founded on reason, on your individual ability to be able to rationalize outcomes independently outside of the state. That's why the separation of church and state is so paramount. It's also why the First Amendment is the first freedom written into the fucking Bill of Rights.
Well, and I find it ironic, a lot of the people who lean on that stuff, like the 7076 sticker, you know, like all those guys, like, do your fucking history, you know, like do your research. And when you actually look back in history, like it's hard to not see what's going on now and be like, this is why we wrote that thing a certain way, you know? And if actually anyone would read it and look at the history behind it, you would understand that, like, we, and it's not just a church and state, it's a freedom of speech, it's everything, you know? And most of that stuff comes back, is tied back to ideology and religion, you know? And that's the biggest thing. And it's,
I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
all these guys were like, it's not that they didn't believe in God. That's not the thing. They were vigorously opposed to like any entanglement of religion and civil government. They were vigorously opposed because unlike us in 2026, back in those days, they knew about people getting burned up, fucking desecrated, like chopped up into little pieces. Like, I mean, all of these scientists, they would name them as like warlocks because they would say something heretical like the earth went around the sun, like Isaac Newton. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like they were just, you couldn't say or do anything outside of what the church believed. And these guys, because they were educated, they were highly educated and highly well read. They wanted to really, really ensure the fact and promote the freedom of the individual in totality, in totality, in everything, in every, in every way possible. And it's weird to see
Well,
like we're still in a place where you have human beings in 2026 that can say something like the United States is a Christian nation when like
right.
every single founding father went out of their way, like through writing and speeches that you can look up yourself really easily to basically say that that's not at all the case in any way. Like they
Well,
were, and it's not that they weren't Christian, they fucking were Christian. But they believed in the freedom, but ultimately more than that, what was more important than anything was the freedom of the individual. The freedom of the
and
individual.
what I also found really interesting in the evolution of Christianity, because of those things that we put in place. Like, there's so many different sects of Christianity, and especially in America, of how like it grew through, because you have like the Louisiana area and the southern area where you have like, the
Yeah, the Bible
rattlesnake
Belt.
churches, and like you have all these different sects of Christianity. And it was kind of, for me, I always found it funny of someone who wasn't religious is like, oh, you just find the church that suits how you feel about things. Like when I talk about the Jesus Christian, like there's churches in Denver that have a rainbow flag on it and they say like we accept everybody, like but we still also want to preach the gospel, So there's a person who socially doesn't like the extreme Christianity outlook, so they go to that church. And then there's a church that preaches that gays should burn in hell, and then the guy who has the ideology with that goes to that church. And to me, it's like we've manipulated it so much just to suit whatever need we have inside us for it. It's
Mhm.
kind of funny to me, and not funny, like it's interesting sociology, or as far as like how society has changed and manipulated, especially in America, because it's a young country and kind of was able to do it in a petri glass and just watch it spread. It's just it's really interesting to me.
Right, even like the word self-evident in the Declaration of Independence, self-evident. The reason self-evident was put in there is because it was a rationalist idea. It's like these truths require no scriptural or church proof at all. No royal decree, no king telling you how it's going to be, no priestly authority. They literally said this, no priestly authority. They said any reasoning person capable of examining nature and human experience can recognize what self-evident means. And it's like you find this shit over and over again.
When I think like getting out of some of that talk and first or the Constitution and the amendments and all that, like coming back to Trump and maybe
Religion
why
definitely
we're
doesn't cause weird conversations. Definitely
yeah,
not.
not at all. We don't tangent. But going back to Trump and some of his, so not only has he had a bunch of big, massive donations from either people who are Zionists or Christian Zionists, like so not only does he have all like the APAC money, who's the lady who gave him a bunch of money?
Barry Allison,
Yeah, her, like
who
an
Netanyahu's
astonishing
going to
amount of
kill now
money.
from the BB
But
tapes.
this is just a list of people he's pardoned who have Jewish ties, and they're mostly for fraud. And that's one thing, like I'm all about like getting rid of fraud in this country. I don't care if it's from the Democrat side or the left side. I know the people out there from the right wing side are going to be like, "Well, look at all the fraud the Democrats do," and like I'm
It's always
aware,
how it works, right?
but
It's
this
like as soon as you bring up
if you're
something from somebody, the first thing they want to do is be like, "Yeah, but the Democrats," and then the Democrats, yeah, but
yeah
Republicans. Not and me and you were like, "Yeah, they can both suck my dick." How about that?
yeah
How does that fucking work
they
for you?
could they could get boned, but for somebody who is talking about DEI and getting rid of fraud and all this stuff, this is just a list of people Trump is part, and not all the people. These are just people with Jewish connections, or Israel connections, I should say. This is a list of the people he's pardoning. I always forget to turn the volume on.
Stronger Jewish ownership isn't his foreign policy or his cabinet. Those, comparably to previous administrations, are honestly less Jewish. Even his foreign policy is less than Bush and Bush Sr. Just look at who he pardons. The U.S. created a task force to tackle fraud, yet Trump's total clemency actions across both terms have wiped away $2.5 billion in court-ordered restitution in fines and forfeitures, like Philip S. Formas, $1.3 billion in Medicare fraud, Sholem Weiss, $450 million in insurance fraud, Eliyahu Weinstein, $230 million in real estate Ponzi scheming, Judith Negron, $205 million in pension fraud, Solomon Melgen, $73 million in Medicare fraud, Joseph Schwartz, $38 million in nursing home and tax benefit fraud. And that guy is his most recent. Joseph Schwartz is actually so bad that some people died of neglect and had open wounds with maggots, and they weren't found for weeks. Michael Ashley, a $49 million bank fraud. Stephen Ozer, $16 million in bank fraud. Doug Jamal, $1.5 million in wire fraud. And Alex Ajmi, $22 million in money laundering. He consistently gives Jewish Ponzi schemers and fraudsters a pass. $2.5 billion in fraud. Well, they make a big fuss about all the other types of fraud, which are very important. We have $233 to $500 billion of fraud every single year. But you're giving a pass to these guys? The best argument for Trump having stronger Jewish ownership isn't his foreign policy.
And I think, and too, like most of that fraud is done to like old people, like the pension fraud, the old folks home guy. Like they're taking advantage of our population, the population that can't take care of ourselves, and that's what pisses me off the most. At least the fraud up in Minnesota, what was called out from the Democrats, at least like that had some sort of good moral feel about it, even though they were taking money. Like, like
It was pretty
these are
bad.
people are no, it was bad. I know. I know. But at least it was dressed up as something nice, is what I'm saying. Like these people are just fucking for people who work their whole lives and have a pension,
Yeah, that's
and
pretty
then
terrible, man. That's pretty
that's
terrible.
these.
It's like that Enron shit. Remember we were talking about when
Oh
that
yeah.
was at the end of what was that? I guess that was the Bush administration, right? When Enron crashed and they lost everybody's 401ks and like all that shit. There's that massive, crash. Did you see that? Remember that little blonde, fucking his spiritual advisor gal, the one that we played that video on, where she's like
Yeah,
talking
speaking
in
in tongues and
tongues.
shit.
Yeah, talking in tongues, and like she demands money like crazy in her church. Apparently, like
Yeah.
she's huge into tithing. Go figure. And she basically I think it was today. She was up there with Trump and she was basically saying that he's the same as Jesus Christ. Like she was listing all the things that Jesus had suffered and like, you know what I mean, been through, and then like how he's like the exact same. You know what I mean? It's just the way these people think, man. And you think about like the list that you just provided with all those people that are just
I
doing a ton of damage to like regular people, man. People that are just saving money for their retirement for their kids so they could just have a good retirement for like a good last 10 or 15 years of your life. I mean, you're really talking about like a decade, right? When you retire, you get like a
yeah.
decade, maybe 15 years for like normal people when they retire. And just to shit on people like that, it's terrible,
Well,
man.
and to pardon them, like one of the guys only got 4 years in jail for it. Let him sit for 4 fucking years. He's still gonna go back home to a fucking $1 million, $12 million house. His life isn't gonna fucking change.
Nope.
Like
Yep.
the people who he frauded got fucked. And that's like the whole. And then that lady talking about how Trump's suffering and stuff. The most Trump's ever suffered is when that girl bit his penis. That's in the Epstein files, by the way, for the people who
It's in the
don't
Epstein
know.
files, yeah.
And then he punched her in the face. That's the worst he ever had to suffer, dude. Fucking
He's a
people
trust
standing
fund
up
baby,
for him,
man.
man.
That's what he really is.
What
He's
the
a trust fund
fuck?
baby. When I was a kid, like I said, we had a
Yeah.
name for those guys. It was called trust fund babies. And it's amazing how we've taken one and we've turned him into a golden calf. Trump's the
Well,
golden
and
calf. That's what he is. He's the
people
golden calf. He's the false idol of America. 100%.
people people could hate some of the DEI shit and some of it rightfully so, but like the nepotism in this cabinet and like the people who shouldn't be in the positions they are, like I don't. It's this nepotism is just as bad as any DI program. If you're not going to call out nepotism, but you're going to call out DEI shit, you're fucking insane.
Everything's a
You
double
know?
standard, bud.
Yep, it's fucking crazy.
Everything's a double standard. It's like, it's like these guys are, these guys talking shit about Iran and all the money they spend on their weapons while we spend. It's not even like what is like how many times do you have to times $10 billion to get $1.5 trillion?
Yeah, for real.
What is it like? We spend 1,000,000 times more money on our fucking defense than they do. And on top of that, here's another thing. Like, we're not fucking doing good right now. We're not doing
Yeah,
good against Iran. Iran's $10 million a year, $10 billion a year, or sorry, yeah, $10 billion a year fucking military budget. They've closed the Strait of Hormuz. They're keeping all of our fucking naval shit way the fuck off. They're completely annihilating fucking Israel. They've spent, I don't know if we said this, Dubai, the UAE, 2,000. They've received 2,000 missiles in the last month. Dubai and the UAE has received 2,000 incoming impacts in the last 30 days, because this thing's been going on like just a little over 30 days. Since the start of it, over 2,000 impacts, dude. That tells you how bad it's going over there. What with our $1 trillion fucking military budget that is like compared to Iran's $10 billion military budget, while we're giving them shit for spending $10 billion on their military.
Well, and just the things that we talked about like earlier on when this shit was going off about how interceptors are already low, like now all that's mainstream media. Like they're already talking about how Israel has ran out of interceptors, like all this stuff, but Trump says the war is over. Yeah, let's
Dude, we were
fucking
talking
wake
about that
up,
30 days ago. We
America.
talked about that like in our first podcast where we're like, Israel's getting crushed. They're getting fucking hit hard. People would send me messages like, dude, how could you? Nothing says that. Like nothing says that at all. And it's like now it's just normal. Now it's just normal that Israel's getting crushed. It's just normal that Iran's got hypersonic missiles. It's just normal that we're running out of interceptors. And it's just normal that we're asking for an additional $200 billion for this war and for everything else. And it's like, it's just normal to be like, it's not our fault the Strait of Hormuz is closed, obviously. It's totally Iran's fault. It's Iran's fault that gas is $4 and fucking 10 cents a gallon in Steamboat Springs right now for 85 octane. Like,
Well, and he talks about inflation not going up, where you talk to a lot of people, it feels like that number's been held there artificially. So if it's held there artificially and we're going to war,
yep.
like just I imagine wait until after midterms, but let's watch our inflation jump like 2%, you know? Like yeah, it just none of this makes fucking sense, man.
Hey, dude, Pam
Uh
Bondi got fucking ousted.
yeah.
Feel like we
She'll
should
fall
say
on the
that.
It's funny how many people just fall around Trump, and then his MAGA people say they're bad people, and that's who fucked up the Epstein. Like, how about the leader of our country, who is fucking up our country, is accountable for
I
like
hate how
all this
people are
shit.
just, dude, people are, even people that are like Megyn Kelly, right? Megyn Kelly's coming around a lot with the Israeli thing, but
Right.
she cannot blame Trump. She can't just say it's like, who's making the fucking decisions here? Is it Netanyahu or is it Trump? Is it the state of Israel or is it Trump? Like, is it the international community or is it Trump? You're responsible for your own actions. Last I fucking checked. I mean, just to be like, this is Israel's fault or something. This is fucking Trump's fault. The buck stops with us. Like, if we're Israel's bitch, then it's our fucking fault. It's not Israel's fault. Israel made us their bitch. That's what they fucking did as a state. And we let it happen. And guys like Trump and Biden and the people before them, like, they don't give a fuck. They're absolutely in the pockets of Israel based on how much money they
Well,
get from APAC and the influence and everything else. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to pass the buck at all. Israel's doing
and
what a state fucking does. States do that shit all the time. That's what they do. They're trying to get advantage, especially financially, especially if they're dealing with a superpower. It is up to our fucking leadership that we put in power to make good decisions for the American people, not another state and halfway across the world. The people we've put in power, it's up to them to make those fucking
well,
good decisions.
and I think I figured out why maybe Trump has like this weird like view on why everything's going good. Because I think his family has made more in a year than they've made in like
They've
20
killed it.
years previous, you know?
Kushner,
So maybe,
Jared Kushner, dude.
maybe he's just like, oh, it's doing really good because his circle is fucking killing it while everyone else takes it into shorts, man.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So much for we the people, homie. All right,
Yeah.
man. I think we're good. You good?
Good. Hopefully next week we can get in some weird shit. Maybe
Let's
have
get
a
into
little
some. Yeah, I
chain.
want to get into some weird shit. I want to get into for
Maybe
those of
have a
you
little.
that hung out to the end of the podcast, wondering if we're going to get into the history weird shit. We're still planning on doing it. We're just not going to do it this episode right now. So it's just we want to do kind of our own thing with that. And so there's some pretty cool stuff out there. And maybe after Easter Sunday, there might even be more cool shit out there. So based on what Chris Bledsoe says on Sean Ryan's show. Go check out the Sean Ryan Chris Bledsoe episode before you listen to us next week.
I like it.
All right, brother. I love you, man.
All right, love you, brother. Have a good evening, bro.